Hello and welcome to today's content, which is going to be on Jeume and her unit analysis as a unit. And yes, I will say, starting from Jeume, I am starting to kind of like condense videos and like trying to like save as much time as possible. Not only because it will allow me to create more videos, because I've had much less time lately, as you know, as well as if I was sick, it just takes a lot of time and effort, especially speaking for long periods of time. But yeah, starting from Jeume, you're going to start noticing some of the videos are going to be getting shorter. However, it's going to still be keeping most of the information that most people are looking at, as I was seeing from the retention of like video viewers basically overall. So yeah, overall basically it's just a good thing for as a viewer, and yeah, pretty much that's it. And yeah, without further ado, let's begin. So here we are for abilities and main job situations. Jeume is going to have her own personal basically unique main job, which is going to be Warrior of the Crystals, but wind. All the elemental Warrior of the Crystals are going to have their own basically same main job here. However, they are going to be different elements completely, and their setups are going to be completely different. They just have the same name but different elements. This one specifically is going to be for Jeume. So as a base unit, she's going to get Air Incisor, she's going to get Vacuum Veil, Wind Blessing, Storm Siphon, Gale Force Rend, and her limit break, which is going to be Storm Dance of Acuity. As EX upgrade, she's going to get Storm Rend. Storm Wind Rend is basically her Gale Force Rend. However, not only does the AP cost go down, it also adds a 100% hit chance to that AoE. So it is very, very crucial you do have it upgraded as the EX if you're planning to use her for that situation. And additionally, her EX ability she's going to get is going to be Dance of the Whirlwind, which is going to increase her own single target resistance after she uses it. So it does make her even further tankier than what she can be with Vacuum Veil already. As a sub job for the Warrior of the Crystal Wind, she's going to get Domain of Wind and Enervating Edge, which is, I mean, they're not bad. It has good utility, as well as you can see from Enervating Edge, it has a larger AoE, so it can hit more units than usual. She also has the Nightblade sub job, where she can have basically the buffs there. Most importantly, especially right now, I guess you can say if there's a lot of Pierce and Missile, then double resist is going to be very good. And she's also good in PvE, like, you know, player versus environment, because she also has AP drain here, so she can sustain herself a bit with like AP. So she doesn't necessarily need AP generation if you're manually controlling the character. And then lastly, she does have a Dragoon sub job. While I can't really recommend it too much, mostly because most of her stats and stuff are kind of focusing on her slash abilities, she does have the option for it. Like I said, she has these extra options if you do happen to play her on manual. So here we are to resistances to damage types. As a base unit, she's going to get 15% to slash resistance, 20% to pierce, 0% to strike, 10% to missile, and negative 5% to magic. Specifically for her, she can get 0% to AoE and single target, and at level 120, master ability included, she has 8 defense and 0 spirit. As you can see, overall, you're probably thinking like, oh, how is she a tank? And we'll get to that very soon. But yeah, first off, let's talk about these. Resistances to statuses, 50% to disable. Oh my goodness, this is very, very nice. 50% to Doom as well, which is mostly on the PvE side, but it's definitely useful in the Lich Nightmare run in general. And then 10% to Frostbite, which is not too common, but it's still something. Most importantly is that 50% to disabled. Holy moly, that is very nice. Now, as a master ability, she's going to get the Elemental Wind, and then even 10% more HP on herself, and then she does have a passive 5 hate on herself at all times at the beginning of battles, because she has that on her master ability, so that is very, very nice to have. She is going to be a 3 move, 1 jump unit, 100 cost, and her passives, now this is where she starts getting more tankier. Windhaven gets EX upgraded to Windhaven 2, which increases her defense by 15, as well as increasing by a flat 5 defense every time she gets hit, up to basically an additional 15 defense. The slash and pierce resistance are going to further make her even tankier, so her base amounts are actually going to be 25% slash and then 30% pierce resistance. As you can see, you really do not want to bring slash and pierce units against her in general. From here, what I would recommend also is either going to be Nightblade Mastery if you want more damage, or Swift to Wind Conditioning, mostly because of the agility, but also if you really want to make her a little bit more mobile with the jump. Niche and Flex, there's no real reason to use Jump +1 if you have Swift Wind Conditioning, so that's why I put it here. And the HP up, you could potentially use this over the other two if you really want her to just only tank. However, as I said, I do believe she has decent damage potential, so Nightblade Master is pretty good, as well as she does get a lot more agility from her Swift Wind Conditioning, so I do see those to be way more useful than just HP up. And here we are for reaction abilities. She has Aura of Wind, which is basically going to be very good against physical damage. She can take up to 45% less physical damage. That is just how good it is. Or if you want for all matchups in general, she does have access to Dragon's Blade. I would not recommend Counter Swing, mostly because of the range on it is not too great. And here we are at Jeume's rating out of 5. I did agree to basically rate her at a 4.5 out of 5, and as you can see the pros and cons, I did try to short it down to like 6 or less if possible, only to save up on time basically. It's very hard to talk about everything and consider everything when we won't even remember it when we're actually using the character in general. But yeah, here we are. For the pros, let's start off with the stats. At level 120, she has 5,403 HP, which is higher than King Mons. However, the base is only 3,768, which is lower than King Mons by like 400. So if you did add in like an HP percentage, like vision card or like setup, then King Mons would like blast her away with that scaling just in general. So yeah, her total HP is good. Her base amount is on the lower side. Her defense is a base of 8, and it's 23 with the Windhaven passive that we talked about. And her agility is going to be 63 total, base of 56, which is not bad. That's plenty. And then 69 with the passive. I know that's nice, but like, yeah. But 69 agility with the passive, so she is very fast if she needs to be, if you use her passive. So let's talk about her main pros. She's very physically tanky, and she has high slash and pierce resistance. This is very nice for her. That means she is going to be a very good, capable physical tank. Her personal physical barrier is for 30% for 3 turns, and well, not 3 turns, sorry, 3 attacks, and increases her defense penetration by 40%. So this is both an offensive and defensive buff. I also didn't talk about it here specifically, but her hate on her mass ability and hate on her TP ability, which is Vacuum Veil, this also grants her protect and show for 3 turns. This is an insanely good like buff, and it might actually be the staple for all like future good like meta or very good tanks in the future, which is going to be basically granting themselves a protector shell and having like hate on like a TP buff as well as on a passive or a master ability. It's just going to start being a staple, and this is pretty nice to see. She can lower enemies' single target resistance as well as increase her own single target resistance. So this means against enemies with very poor AoE abilities or like weak AoE abilities, that does mean that Jeume does innately get a little bit more benefits from there. Additionally, against specifically single target abilities, she will have better resistance compared to other tanks in this situation. She does have a 100% AoE attack that also lowers agility and hits decently hard. It's not going to necessarily one-shot like a lot of units, but it's still not. It's consistent because it's 100% hit. 2, it's AoE, and 3, it also lowers agility. So those are 3 huge benefits that help Jeume in that situation. And lastly, for her pros, but not the least, is just to remember, save time. Having the option for 2 jump due to her passive can be very useful depending on the map. Maybe necessarily you're not even using for the jump but for the agility, but she has access to both the extra agility and the jump, which do make her very good in terms of mobility, or like just having that extra option. And then these are kind of like 4 units like off the top of my head that are kind of like very good to pair with Jeume. Obviously Halloween Leela, a lot of people kind of not like her right now in class match, but yeah, that is a very good matchup. Tifa and Tubi are very good as well, and then Winter Luartha, who is also very strong in that regard. So yeah, these are pretty much just a little sample units that are going to be good with Jeume. Now, talking about Jeume's negatives. So while being physically tanky, she's actually quite vulnerable to magic damage due to a base of 0 spirit. And what I mean by like magic damage is just in general magic damage. It doesn't necessarily have to be magic attack type, it just has to be magic damage in general. Obviously there are options to raise her survivability against it, but as a base unit, if you do not build her towards it, she can be shredded down pretty fast. Without proper mitigation as a setup, she will be vulnerable to magic attack types as well. Her base is at -5%, and if she does not boost that up with anything, that doesn't mean that she can still be very weak to magic attack types as well. Her abilities also all cost a hefty amount of AP. She does need some type of AP generation if you do want her to be more than just a tank that is tanking damage. Despite being physically tanky, she will struggle actually to survive against capable strike type damage because she is negative in that department, and there are not many sources to like increase strike abilities. Anyone who has the Pugilist sub job or has like strike type attacks, they will be quite effective onto Jeume compared to other like attack types. While she's able to be capable of good bruiser DPS and she can be easily blocked out by either high defense or high slash resistance. Specifically for Jeume, the easiest way to mitigate her damage if you're having hard times like surviving against her is either have a very high slash resistance or have a lot of defense, because the only way she can get through that defense is gonna have to be through her limit break, which costs all her AP, which means she does not have anything to do after she uses that unless she has bells on or something. High slash resistance, very good against her unless she has a like Exorcist vision card somewhere in her party. Without that, she is gonna be hitting like a wet noodle against people who have very high slash resistance. And lastly, for the cons, it's not really even a con, it's kind of like more of a wrap-up, but while Jeume might not have everything to fight against the Guts and Ray Ray's composition, which is specifically going to be Jaden and Elena and or Fina, she is still capable of holding her own even in that meta because of just how tanky she is. With her Protect and Shell and with a decent like mitigation build against, like a good mitigation build against magic damage in general, she can survive Elena and Jaden quite well. As long as she has a healer to back it up as well, she can tank that setup very, very well. And TMR chase rating, especially if you want a good TMR, I will say Jeume's is pretty good, especially in terms of mostly for tanks. But yeah, this is very nice. Her TMR is going to be the Swift Wind Mantle, which is an accessory that gives 364 HP, not too bad. Most importantly, 5 agility, very nice. Crit evade is always nice but not necessarily needed, so it's not bad. And then most importantly, outside of the agility stat on it, is going to be the active effect, which is going to be Swift Wind Defense, which is going to increase your own defense and spirit by 20 for 3 turns, and it has 2 casts, so it is possible to have it like used multiple times. So this is a very good like TMR if you really want it. Like, it's just good. Whether in autoplay or manual play, it is still very good just because of what it provides in terms of stats as well as the active itself. And yeah, we basically come to the end of the video. I'm probably not gonna have example build setups anymore, mostly because when I was looking at the like viewer video retention, like not a lot of people even like look at it. There's a very small majority, and I'm trying to keep videos much shorter now if possible. So yeah, outside of that, this is the end of Jeume's review. I still have a lot more to go, as well as time not being the most efficient right now. But yeah, hope you guys liked it. Gonna be slowly trying to get back into it. But yeah, until next video, peace out.